Okay, so I want you to picture something for me.
Hmm.
Imagine you've, fought through morning traffic. You finally find a parking spot, which is a miracle in itself.
Right.
And you walk into a lecture hall at, let's say, one of Israel's top universities. This is a big deal course, the kind that used to have kids sitting in the aisles.
For sure. A world-class professor.
Exactly. The professors up there, they're passionate, they're lecturing, making these huge points about philosophy or politics. But then you turn around to look at the audience and there's almost no one there.
Just rows and rows of empty seats.
Literally empty. Maybe, 3 or 4 people? And a single camera lens staring back?
It sounds like a scene from some, post-apocalyptic movie, doesn't it? But according to the investigation we're digging into today, that is the daily reality for more and more academics.
Today, we are diving deep into a report by Merav Arlosorov from The Marker. And the title alone, it's enough to stop you in your tracks. The empty classroom. Is the university era ending?
That's a huge question. And what Arlosorov gets into here isn't just a story about lazy students or, boring professors. She calls it a silent crisis.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about budget cuts or political fights, which is what usually makes headlines. We're talking about something much scarier for a university. We're talking about irrelevance.
And that's really the mission for this deep dive. We have to figure out, in a world where AI can write your code, where you can watch lectures on 2 times speed in your pajamas, and where the job market for junior developers is just completely crashing, does a traditional university degree even make sense anymore?
Or are we just looking at a zombie institution that doesn't realize it's already, dead?
That's the tension, right?
That is the tension at the absolute heart of this report.
Yeah.
You've got these 2 forces pulling in completely opposite directions. You've got the skeptical student on one side who sees the campus as just like a huge waste of time and a terrible commute.
And on the other?
You've got the establishment, which is scrambling, desperately, to pivot from teaching facts to teaching humanity just to stay alive.
Okay, let's unpack that, because the numbers here, they're honestly staggering.
They are. The report highlights one data point that should really worry anyone who cares about higher education.
What are you talking about?
Attendance. In physical, face-to-face classes, across the board, it has dropped by about 50%.
50, as in 50.
50, half. Half the student body has just vanished from the physical space.
Wow. And now, we know what the catalyst was. It was sort of a perfect storm, right?
It absolutely was. First, you had COVID. That forced the entire system online overnight. Everyone got used to Zoom. But then in Israel specifically, you had the war, and a huge chunk of the student body got called up for reserve duty.
Right. So the universities did the only thing they could do. They said, okay, we'll record everything.
Every lecture, every seminar, so the soldiers wouldn't fall behind.
It was an accessibility thing, an ethical thing.
Exactly. But here's the twist. The war settled down. The reservists came back. The masks are long gone. But the students didn't come back.
The habit was broken.
Totally. The report introduces us to this student, Hila, from Tel Aviv University. She's studying political science and philosophy. And her attitude, it just perfectly captures this whole shift.
She treats going to class like a vibe check, right?
It's fascinating. She says she'll go to the first class, maybe the second, just to see if the lecturer is, entertaining. If attendance isn't mandatory, she just never goes back.
And she has this quote.
Oh, yeah. She calls the physical act of arriving at campus the most unnecessary thing in the world.
Okay, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. If I'm trying to be as efficient as possible, isn't Hila right? If she can watch the recording, pause it, rewind it, speed it up to 2x, isn't that a better way to get the information than sitting in traffic for an hour?
Well, if the goal of university is purely information transfer, then yes, she is 100% right. It's more efficient.
And she binge watches the lectures, right? Like it's a Netflix series.
Exactly. The Netflix-ification of a degree. She crams the entire semester right before the exam.
So what's the problem? She gets the content, she passes the test, efficiency wins.
The problem is that universities were never designed to just be about information transfer. And this so-called efficiency is creating a nightmare. Professor Liat Rabin, who is the Dean of Innovation at TAU, she calls these students demanding consumers.
Demanding consumers.
Yeah, they're doing a cost-benefit analysis on every single hour. They're asking, what value am I getting for my commute? For my gas money?
It's so transactional. I paid for the product, just email me the file.
Exactly. And the professors were really struggling to answer that. There's this really painful story in the report about a lecturer who realized halfway through class he was basically talking to himself.
Oh, no.
He got so angry he just canceled all the recordings. He said, if you don't come, you don't get the content.
Which, I mean, I get it. It must feel so insulting to lecture to an empty room. But that creates a huge problem, doesn't it?
It backfired completely. The report mentions a student with learning disabilities who really relied on those recordings, not to skip class, but to review the material after class.
Right, because she processes information differently.
And when the professor pulled the plug out of anger, she was the one who got hurt.
So it's a trap. If you accommodate the remote lifestyle, the campus becomes a ghost town. If you force attendance, you hurt accessibility, and you alienate your customers.
Exactly. And when we say ghost town, we have to define what's actually being lost. Because it's not just about bodies and chairs. The report uses this Hebrew term that I think is so evocative.
Yeah.
Mad Hadesh.
Which means lawn science.
Yeah, lawn science.
Yeah.
And for our listeners who haven't studied in Israel, this isn't a degree in like landscaping or botany.
Right, you aren't getting graded on how well you mow the grass.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Lawn science is the term for everything that happens between the lectures. Sitting on the grass, debating ideas, flirting, organizing protests, just talking.
That's the heart of the university experience, historically.
It is. The report makes this great point that more marriages, business partnerships, and social movements were born on those lawns than in any classroom.
But now, with the Netflix model of education, the lawns are empty. That serendipity, that chance encounter is gone.
It's gone. And there's another case study for this. Itamar Cohen-Gadol, a student at Haifa University, his perspective is pretty heartbreaking.
He feels lonely.
Very. He says he treats his degree like a project to be managed, not an experience to be lived. And he admits he feels like he's hovering above it all instead of being in it.
That's a profound sense of loss. He realizes that by optimizing for efficiency, he missed out on the actual life part.
But Professor Rabin argues this isn't just about nostalgia for fun times. This is a professional crisis. Lawn science was where you learned teamwork.
How to deal with people you don't like.
Exactly. How to debate without it turning into a fight. These are crucial soft skills.
So we might be raising a generation of workers who are great at absorbing data at 2x speed, but not so good at sitting in a room and collaborating with a difficult colleague.
That's the fear. The students are all rushing to work part-time jobs to gain experience, and they see social time as wasted time.
And then they expect the university to schedule fun for them.
Right. They expect the university to manufacture social events because the organic ones are gone. They want a calendar invite for hanging out.
The bureaucratization of friendship, that is bleak.
It is. But let's pivot for a second because there's another crisis brewing in this report. And this one isn't about social vibes. It's purely economic. And it's hitting the absolute holy grail of Israeli academia.
You're talking about computer science.
The crown jewel. For the last decade, the story in Israel and really most of the world was simple. If you want a secure future, you study CS.
For sure. The government poured money into it. Universities expanded.
Parents pushed their kids into it. But now, the numbers are crashing.
The stats in the report are they're wild. Get this. Tel Aviv University saw a 32% drop in registration.
Wow. 32%.
Compared to the COVID peak. And the Open University, which is usually the most flexible option, lost 750 students in just 2 years. The waiting lists, which used to be miles long, they've basically vanished.
And we really have to explain why this is happening. Because normally when the economy gets shaky, people run to practical degrees like CS.
Right. But the opposite is happening, and it connects to what the industry is calling the junior crisis.
This is critical to understand. The tech industry has, for all intents and purposes, stopped hiring juniors.
And just to clarify for our listeners, a junior is an entry-level developer, a fresh graduate.
Exactly. The person with a degree but 0 to 2 years of experience. The industry used to hire them in droves, train them up. Now, nobody wants them.
Why not? I thought tech was always desperate for talent.
Because artificial intelligence can write basic code now. It can debug, it can generate all the boilerplate stuff, it can do the work of a junior developer faster, cheaper, and without complaining.
So the entry-level job, the job you used to get right out of your bachelor's degree, that's now being done by an algorithm.
Pretty much. And the students are smart. They see the writing on the wall. They realize that just being a code writer, someone who knows the syntax, is a dying profession.
You're obsolete before you even graduate.
Exactly. You have to be an expert in algorithms and the architecture of the AI, not just a user of it.
It reminds me of the dot-com bubble burst back in the early 2000s.
That's the exact parallel the report draws. Back in 2001, when the bubble burst, undergraduate enrollment in tech plummeted because the easy money was gone. But this is the key part. Master's degree enrollment spiked.
Because people realized they needed to be undeniable experts to survive.
Precisely. And that's what the universities are betting on now. They're trying to shift from being these factories that just churn out BA students to being hubs for MA and MSc researchers. They need to produce the people who build the AI, not the people who are replaced by it.
But that's a painful transition. It's like the intellectual middle class is getting wiped out.
It's a very real possibility.
And speaking of painful transitions, let's talk about homework. Because reading this report, it feels like ChatGPT has just completely broken the entire assessment model of the university.
It's broken it. Absolutely. Think about it. For decades, the standard way to check if a student understood something was go home, write an essay, or go home, write this code.
And now you just type that prompt into an AI, and 10 seconds later, you've got a B+ paper.
Or an A- paper.
Yeah.
So giving that kind of homework is now pointless for assessment. You can't grade a student on an AI-generated paper. It proves nothing.
So what are they doing? The report says some universities are sort of panicking and going backward, like back to pen and paper exams in the classroom.
It's a total knee-jerk reaction. They're just trying to prove a human did the work. But it's kind of absurd, isn't it? You're supposed to be preparing students for a high-tech future by testing them with a ballpoint pen in a silent room.
Yeah.
That's not the real world.
No, but there's this one story in the report that I think captures the real freak-out moment. And it wasn't about cheating. It was about thinking.
Oh, this story's fascinating. So a lecturer decides to try something new. Instead of a standard exam, she gives a final paper with one purely subjective question.
Which was?
Describe 3 new things you learned in this course.
That's it. A simple reflection question. What did you take away from this?
And the students, they lost their minds.
They panicked over that.
Panicked. They actually did not know how to handle it.
But why? I mean, that seems like the easiest question in the world. There's no wrong answer.
Because ChatGPT can't answer that for you. ChatGPT doesn't know what you specifically learned. It doesn't know what moment in class changed your perspective.
It requires introspection.
It requires introspection. And these students who are so used to information retrieval, find the answer, copy the answer, they weren't used to looking inward.
That's actually kind of terrifying. It suggests we might be raising a generation that's great at accessing information, but is losing the skill of personally processing it.
And that is exactly where the university is trying to pivot. If the old factory model of lecture, test, degree is dead, what replaces it?
The report talks about this new initiative called the degree map.
Right. Professor Raven describes this. It's a fundamental shift. Instead of just listing courses that teach knowledge, because let's be honest, knowledge is free online now.
Right.
Every single course has to justify its existence by mapping to a specific skill.
So you're not just taking intro to political theory to learn dates and names anymore.
No, you're taking it to learn critical thinking or ethics or teamwork. The idea is that these are things AI can't really do yet. You have to teach a student ethics, so they ask, how does this code help humanity? Not just, does this code run?
It's a shift from how to why.
Precisely. And this brings us to one of the biggest myths the report busts. And I know you hear this one all the time, the 8200 myth.
Oh, constantly. For listeners who don't know, Unit 8200 is the elite cyber intelligence unit in the Israeli military. The myth is, I don't need college. Look at the guys from 8200. They just build a startup and become billionaires.
It's a very seductive story. Universities for suckers, the real geniuses drop out. But the report quotes a university CEO who actually ran the numbers on this.
And what did they find?
10 years after their service, 95% of Unit 8200 alumni have academic degrees.
95%. So the myth of the genius dropout
is a statistical error. It's the exception that proves the rule. Even the most elite tech soldiers in the world eventually go back to get that theoretical foundation.
That is a massive reality check for anyone thinking they can just shortcut the system.
It really is. The School of Hard Knocks isn't enough when the technology is changing this fast. You need the theory.
Okay, so let's zoom out. We have empty classrooms, a crashing job market for juniors, AI doing the homework. and a university system desperately trying to reinvent itself as a skills hub. What does this all mean for the listener?
I think it means we're witnessing the end of the automatic degree. For so long, the university was a conveyor belt. You got on, you did the time, you got the paper, you got the job.
And that conveyor belt is broken.
It's broken. The paper alone isn't a golden ticket anymore.
No.
The new university has to be a place where you learn the things the machine cannot do. Complex, critical thinking, real social collaboration, not just networking on LinkedIn, but actually working with people to solve a problem. And ethical reasoning. If universities can become that, they'll survive. If they just insist on being lecture halls for facts, they'll become permanent ghost towns.
It's almost like the university needs to become harder, not in terms of memorizing more facts, but in demanding more humanity.
Exactly. It needs to be the place you go to become more human, because the machines have the smart part covered.
That's a powerful thought. And I want to leave you, the listener, with one more thing to chew on. We talked about the empty classroom. If this trend continues, if the physical campus just becomes a place for high-level research and elite networking, while all the learning happens on Zoom, what happens to society?
That's the real danger, isn't it?
Are we okay with a future where the physical campus is a luxury product, an exclusive club for the wealthy or the geniuses, instead of a public square where different people meet? Because if lawn science dies, we lose something much bigger than a few lectures.
We lose the democratization of ideas. We lose the mixing of society. And that is a very high price to pay for efficiency.
A huge thank you to Mirav Arlosorov for this incredible report in The Marker. It really forces you to look in the mirror. And thank you to our expert here for connecting the dots.
Always a pleasure.
And to you, the learner, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.